1. Info. In the UK, it is legal to give your children alcohol in your own home from the age of 5. 2. Anywhere who serves alcohol to customers has to have a license which is always 18+. If you serve people underage, you will lose your license. It is customary to ID for people who look under the age of 25. Story. A few years ago, I worked in a bar which served food in the UK. This bar would get extremely busy at the weekend, especially Saturday. We opened at 11 AM and would be packed until around 2 AM. One especially busy Saturday, 2 parents who looked to be in their 40s came in with 2 young children around the ages of 7 and 8. Just a guess, but around that age. They ordered food at the bar with 2 small lemonades, and 4 bottles of Estrella. There was a deal where it was cheaper to get 4, so I had no suspicions because 2 customers would often get 2 bottles each. Also, they asked for 2 spare glasses. I assumed the glasses were so they didn't have to drink out of the bottles. How wrong I was. I was rushed off my feet as my boss liked to constantly understaff, so I quickly made their drinks and gave their food order to the kitchen. They were sitting in an area which was quite hard to see when standing behind the bar, and impossible to see when the bar was packed with people standing up. After around 15 minutes, their food was ready. When I took their food to the table, I noticed the 2 children had the 2 spare glasses in front of them with beer and a little lemonade. This is a common drink in the UK called shandy. The mother could tell I was looking at the glasses and had a look of annoyance on her face. I explained that people under 18 aren't allowed to drink alcohol due to license laws. The mother then said aggressively, "Will they drink it at home?" To which I explained that we risk losing our license if we get caught. The father then said, "Well, that's just pathetic." I then took the glasses and gave them 2 free lemonades for the kids, as they had drunk the 2 full glasses of lemonade with a bottle of beer each. 7 and 8, remember? This is extremely entitled and rare, as most parents understand the damage it could cause a business. Also, who gives their kids a full bottle of beer? They then ate their meal, and me and my boss kept an eye on the CCTV to make sure they didn't give a beer to their children again, which they didn't. They ate, then left. Finished, right? Nope. Later on in the afternoon, they returned and had a drink while standing next to a wall with a ledge to put your drink on. This time, though, they glared at me every time I walked past to the kitchen. They also allowed the son to stand on a bar stool and mess around with a big sign, which was not secured to the wall but propped up and did not fall over easily. The son, standing on the bar stool, which is high up above the hard wooden floor, then knocked the sign, which fell on top of his head and caused him to fall, luckily on top of the stool and not onto the floor. His mother screeched and clutched her boy like he was dying, acting all dramatic although he wasn't really hurt. We heard this and turned to see her staring at us wide-eyed, mouth open with a kind of disgusted look. My boss went over to see if they were okay, and she began to loudly exclaim how terrible it was that we had caused this to happen to our son, blaming the fact that the sign was not tied to the wall, although if you don't touch it then it doesn't move and you have to push on it pretty hard for it to fall over. She also started threatening legal action and was trying to get some sort of compensation from my boss. She claimed it was easy for it to fall over and shouldn't be there. My boss wasn't that good of a boss, but he wasn't that bad either, and he certainly didn't take shit. After she complained to him, he said, "I'm not having that. Your son was messing around with the sign. This is no fault of ours." He gave her a complaint form to fill out, and then they left angrily. I wouldn't be surprised if he tore it up afterwards, and nothing came of it, because he was an owner too. I pointed out to him afterwards that it was the same couple as before, and made a joke that the son was drunk and that's why he knocked it over. I thought that was a really funny joke, but he merely smirked. I'll never forget that look on her fucking face of shock and horror. It was so fake. Fuck entitled parents. 2. I'm female, and at the time this happened I was in my late 30s, as were the rest of my group. I used to have a friend, she moved so we lost touch, who had an uber bitch of a younger sister, along with her rotten little 8-year-old female crotch goblin. I mean, this kid was such an asshole, and her mom enabled and indulged her. This kid would always take people's stuff and either mess with it, break it, eat it, or steal it, and would throw a fit if you stopped her, causing mommy to get in your face. Of course, Uberbitch never offered to replace anything. One night, a bunch of us, all women this night, went to my friend's house for a horror movie marathon. We did movie night 2 or 3 times a month, always with a different theme, and friends and spouses were welcome. And each of us was expected to bring a snack, drinks, alcohol was optional, and 1 or more movies, usually R-rated. We then pick, via mutual agreement, the 3 or 4 we liked best to watch. Suffice to say, young kids weren't allowed. We were well into our first movie and 2 bottles of wine when my friend's front door opens and her Uberbitch walks in, unannounced. Says she's going clubbing and tries to dump the kid on us because we're staying home anyway, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Brenda's pissed, refusing to watch the kid, she later told us. A, she's a spoiled, destructive brat. B, Uberbitch didn't call or ask, despite multiple warnings. C, this was her time to unwind with friends, not babysit her sister's rotten crotch fruit. D, none of the movies were remotely child-friendly, and she wasn't going to alter her plans just because sis wanted to go clubbing. And E, did I mention the kid was a spoiled, destructive brat? She didn't say any of this, just gave a flat no, to which both Uberbitch and the kid threw a tantrum. Turned out she told her daughter she would be having a fun movie night with Auntie. As they argued, the brat took the opportunity to grab the remote and started playing the DVD we'd paused when they let themselves in. It was the 1988 remake of The Blob, and was mine, and started watching. None of us stopped her because, honestly, we were too busy watching the sisters fight to notice. Ironically, we had paused it just before a particularly scary and gross scene, where a little boy gets grabbed and pulled under the water, then comes up half-melted and screaming, before being dragged back under and devoured. Naturally, the brat freaks out and starts crying, which alerts Uberbitch, who starts screaming at us for letting her kid watch, I'm paraphrasing here, because this was a while ago and I didn't write her words, are disgusting movies. Pretty sure she also dropped a couple of F-bombs too. Then demanded to know who it belonged to. Since I hated her, I got up off the couch, but surprisingly so did another friend. Friend 1, a very buff sporty girl, who Uberbitch hated and actively feared. This was because they had gotten into a fistfight the year prior, when she'd groped Friend 1's fiancé at a party, and no, she wasn't drunk, then slapped Friend 1, who promptly beat the crap out of her in front of everyone. Friend 1 glared at her and said, "It doesn't matter whose movie it is, what matters is you coming in here, uninvited, giving your sister shit, not watching your fucking kid, then getting pissed off when your kid again touches shit that isn't hers and ends up scaring herself. Now I suggest you get your kid, turn around, and go fucking home." A smart person would have done what Friend 1 said, but she was never particularly smart. Instead of leaving, she turns to me and starts getting in my face, probably figuring I wasn't going to retaliate because she was smaller than me. She's my height, but much slimmer. She was right, but also wrong. I have a temper, always have, but my temper will manifest as sarcasm, right up until I either reach my saturation point, or the dumbass picking the fight touches me, then it's game on. And by that point I don't care if you're smaller or bigger. So she got in my face, screaming a mishmash of oral flatulence I didn't really listen to, nor care about, except a sentence or two of "we needed to take care of her kid," WTF. When she stopped to take a breath, I said, "Why is it our job to watch your kid? It's not like any of us pushed her out of our vag." She actually gasped like someone in a graphic novel and yelled in my face, "You have a son!" "Yes, I do," I replied, starting to get really mad. "But do you see him here?" "No, that's because I'm not a self-centered bitch who'd bring him to an adults-only gathering, or dump him on others without asking." This really set her off, and like any entitled moron who can't fight, she tried to slap me. Unfortunately for her, she has the punching power of a gnat's fart. Also unfortunately for her, I do not. When she pulled her arm back, people never telegraph your blows, I moved slightly to the side, grabbed her arm, rotated it behind her back, grabbed her hair, then planted her face hard in the nearest wall, pinning her arm behind her back. Damn, it felt good. She struggled and cursed, but I wasn't letting go. I told her she had 3 choices. She could take her kid and leave quietly. I could kick her ass in front of her kid. I'd never do that, but she didn't know that. And by this point, one of the others had taken the kid to the kitchen, but I was too busy to notice. Or I could call the cops and have her arrested for assault. Then the kid's father, her ex, who hated her because she cheated, to come pick the kid up. She agreed to option 1, and then tried to get my friend to side with her once I released her because family. Friend responded by taking her keys, removing her house key, and telling her that neither she nor the kid were welcome in her house, and to please GTFO. The look on her face was one of utter shock, as if she discovered someone taking a leak in her cereal bowl. She then looked at all of us for support. Why she looked at me for help, I just don't get. But we just glared at her. Realizing nobody would side with her, she grabbed her kid, said she'd see us all next Tuesday, and left by slamming the door. Friend apologized to us. No need. We all knew her sis was an ass. Then immediately called her parents by giving them a lowdown and warning them that unless they wanted to end up watching the brat all weekend, they'd better get in their car and go anywhere else. She's done this before many times, and to warn the other relatives as well. She didn't get to go clubbing, and soon after lost custody of the brat to her ex. Don't know what happened to her since, and don't care. 3. An important note for this story is that I used to have my hair dyed a bright blue color for a lot of my time working at the shop, but had recently dyed it back to natural brown, as I was making uni applications and it was generally seriously high maintenance when you had to wash it every day as the color ran out way too fast. So we're all going about our business, taking orders and getting ready for the dinner rush. This lady comes in with her kids. Now, she's a regular, not a friendly regular, but we typically see her a few times a week. I take her order and my colleague starts making up her food. As I'm packing it up, she seems annoyed. So I ask if everything is okay with the order, as I'm concerned I've made a mistake and would rather rectify it then and there. She sighs and tells me that it's fine, but she misses having her order taken by the girl with the blue hair, as she was much faster and politer than me, and asked me if she still worked there and what days she works. My service has not changed. I'm still doing my job the same as usual. The only difference is my dyed hair. I'm also the only one with an unnatural colored hair, so she is definitely talking about me. Now, as well as being able to tell from my face, as most of our hair is covered by a hat anyway, who I am, we also wear name tags. Our names come up on the register when we take orders, and they print on the receipts as a way of identifying who took an order in the event of a problem. So I say thank you so much for the compliment. That's actually me, and I've just dyed my hair, but I appreciate the comments on my service this time, and will try to improve. I've got another 7 hours left on this shift. I am super polite, as the last thing I want is for this woman to kick off right before the dinner rush, when I'm still stuck here all night. She goes nuts, telling me that I am committing fraud, that she is going to have me fired and possibly arrested, and even tried to rope my colleague in to admit I'm lying, at which point they slip out the back to locate the manager who was cooking. How could I claim that I, with my terrible service, is the lovely girl who usually served her? Her kids stood there, also trying to insist I'm clearly the same person, but she just keeps pushing them out of the way and yelling that "Mummy is handling this." I do not have the energy for this shit. I try apologizing. I even offer her a free drink for the inconvenience just to get her out of the store. She's not having it and asks for my manager. He has been standing at the back with my coworker, literally pissing himself with laughter at this woman for the last 2 minutes, but puts on his customer service face and comes over. She starts demanding I'm fired. He just lets her rant for a while, then asks if she happens to have a receipt from a previous transaction with the girl she wanted to be served by. She pulls one out of her bag triumphantly, literally with a flourish, thinking she's got her way and proved me to be the scoundrel she thinks I am. It has my name at the top, clear as day. He points to my name tag and has her read out the name on the receipt and the name on the tag. She gets super flustered but is way too far gone now to admit her mistake. She starts claiming I've stolen someone else's tag and that she'll have me arrested for identity theft. My manager at that point is totally done and tells her to get out and don't come back without a better attitude. For the next 9 months I worked there. As we're the best and only fast food place in the local area, she stands outside sending her very embarrassed kids in twice a week so they can still get a takeaway, and of course, it's England in winter. It rains a lot. 4. So I was working at a garden sale at my school, and I was given the task of bringing the heavy items to the cars. There is a mandatory 50 cents for it whether I bring over a flower or a garden fountain. Most people pay, but it is common for people to either forget or forget, because it is a Karen hotspot at events, and we don't like to kick up a fuss over 50 cents, so the Karens decide not to pay. The mother of this bully of mine, entitled Parent, exits the main building where they buy stuff, and some of the salespeople drag a huge pot with a monstera in it, a huge plant. I have one at home myself, and she is big. This thing must have weighed a ton, because we charged on weight, and it was a hefty price. I was the only transport not on a lunch break, so I walked up to her standing there and waiting for a transport. "Oh, no, my baby told me about this," and then she used a slur for a transgender person. "I don't want to catch the gay." "She is the only transport available for the next hour. You can wait or try and get the plant to your car." "But it's heavy. I'm a worked woman and I can't lift it." I don't know what a worked woman means. "Well, there's a transport right there." "Transport's a people. It is not a person." I started holding back tears. "That is not a way to address the workers." "It is a minor. You can't hire a child." "We can, and we pay them via a tip, mandatorily from people who use the transports." "Well, lucky for you, I'm a genius, and since it's a..." and she then used that slur again, "I can pay half price. Win-win." "That is not allowed." "Salesperson, it's fine. Let's not barter," I said, choked up. "See? Whatever, lady. Good luck, OP." And with that, the salesperson leaves, and Karen gestures to the plant and holds out 2 10-cents and a 5 with a smug face. I start dragging the huge plant to her car, which she parked off grounds. All the while, she's screaming bloody murder at me for being a weak, slow, and, well, you can work out the rest. I inevitably start crying as we leave school grounds and near her car, furthering her abusive screams. It was agony, and my back really started hurting. SP was nearby during all of this to make sure she didn't try to pull anything such as not pay me. We got to her car, and I waited for her to open the boot, and after a few seconds she erupted. "Open the damn thing, freak!" "The car is locked. I'm waiting." She released a further barrage of phobic insults. This attracts attention. I break down in tears once she unlocks the car. I open the boot and try to lug the plant up. I couldn't lift it for long enough to get it up. By now the other transports are back. I will get them to help. "So you can scam me out of 1,000,000 tips? I'm not made of money." "It wouldn't cost you extra. I'll be right back." "You're on a commission." "I say what you do. I'll tell you what to do until I pay you." "I own you." And yes, she used that word again. Without a word, I lift the thing into her trunk, and there is an unmistakable pain in my back. I am on the ground crying and asking for help. "The plant is sticking out of the boot." SP runs over. "Are you okay?" I'm rolling on the ground in pain and not responding. "Oh my good lord, is that its blood?" She lets out a blood-curdling scream as if she were the one on the ground in pain. "What is the matter with you, Karen?" says SP. She starts reciting prayers and hyperventilating, and only truly speaks between breaths. "Oh Lord, I don't want to catch the gay. It's not getting paid now." I don't remember anything after that other than saying to Karen that she can go passionately hug herself. I am rushed to the doctor's, and it is a minor injury, but hurts so bad. There was blood from my skin scraping on the pavement from when I was on the ground. Karen is not allowed on school property, and her son was suspended for separate reasons that day. I'm all better now, and my friends helped me get through the effects of her abuse. 5. Let me set the scene for you. I live in a fairly isolated duplex kind of house, in the middle of the countryside. We only have 2 neighboring families in some quarter of a mile radius, one in the apartment downstairs, and one on the opposite side of the road in a house some 300 feet behind a hedge. The latter is the entitled family. They have a daughter whom I have never seen in person, but that I've heard often. I don't know what exactly is her condition, but I'm going to guess that she's nonverbal, since she seems to express herself only through screaming. I also understand from bits and pieces of conversation with her mother that she has a lot of allergies or intolerances. But either way, their house has to be so squeaky clean all the time and rid of pollen, dust, any residue. The long and the short of it is, she'll need constant care for the rest of her life. It obviously goes unsaid that I do not think she is at fault here. Now, this family has been renting that house since I was maybe 12 or 13, but admittedly, I've never really met them until recently. They didn't seem to be sociable people, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Anyway, they never gave us issues that I know of, though later I might ask my mother about things that went under my radar. Fast forward to November 2018. My husband and I have been living in my childhood house for a few months, and we've made friends with the family that now lives downstairs. They've been renting for some 5 years now. They're good, genuine people, and may get loud sometimes when they're partying with their family, but they never get too loud or party at outrageous hours. Most I've ever heard them do is sing and play guitar no later than 10 or 11 p.m. Again, we're in the middle of nowhere countryside. So first time I got to meet the EM was when my cat got trapped in her shed, and she came to tell my husband. EM is Spanish and her husband is American, so they had to make up somehow for the language gaps. But nonetheless, he thanked her profusely, and so did I when I came back home. We had a chat and exchanged some of the information mentioned above, left with pleasantries and all the bells and whistles. Wholesome first interaction, right? Well, the next time she came ringing our doorbell, I met her at the gate, and she said verbatim, "I have done you a favor, now I'd like you to return it." That immediately rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe it's just me, but I don't do favors and then expect people to owe me something. Nonetheless, I listened. EM started what became quickly known as one of her 2 best acts, the "You don't know how bad I have it." It went more or less like this. "You know my daughter is sick. I have a very hard time taking care of her, and I have to make sure she doesn't suffer from seizures. I have to keep the house always clean, always fresh. But sometimes I have to open the windows to change the air, and I can't just let smoke in or my daughter gets a seizure. Can you please not turn on your stove?" Now, I don't doubt that having a child that requires such a high level of care is exhausting both physically and mentally. I won't fault any parent that goes above and beyond to take care of their child. And that is why, despite my initial irritation, I was willing to compromise. It was November after all, and my house gets cold fast. I told her that I could limit my use of the stove to when it's getting dark, so that she can air the house during the day without smoke coming in. She didn't seem happy about the idea, but still accepted the compromise. We started using our stove only around 7 p.m. when the house was already hard to warm up. A couple days later she came back, and this time put on her very disgruntled mother act. She once again asked me, this time less complacently, that I do not use my stove because the smoke was still bothering her child. Let me give you a couple details for context. I live on the 2nd floor, and my chimney is about 15 feet tall, as stated before. This neighbor's house is about 300 feet away from our own, behind a hedge. Winds can get pretty strong here, so I can maybe understand how smoke could get all the way there with the windows open. Why the hell would she feel the need to open them when it's dark, in almost early winter weather? That time I put my foot down, and told her that I'm not going to sacrifice my own comfort more than I have to for the sake of her family, especially when she isn't willing to meet us halfway. She stormed off, and that's the last I've seen of her personally. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to the Impractical Proudness of Parents. IPUP number 51. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use and sent in stories for use in this video. If you yourself have a story you'd like to send in, then please do send it along to kingofthecities@gmail.com. Do we have any shout-outs in this video? We do not. Well, I think you're all pretty awesome people nonetheless. Right, let's see. This goes up on Sunday. Sunday. Oh, gee, we're in December. Sunday the 6th. It's 19 days till Christmas. Or approximately. I'm sure that's not exact. But it's nearly Christmas. Yep. I have to make sure I get little money wallets from somewhere. Well, those little card things. I have to get them from somewhere. I need 2 of those. Apart from that, it's just foods and snacks and stuff. Oh, interesting update. You heard me grumbling earlier in the week about my issues with the grocery delivery that left me a bit mentally frazzled. I was recovered after the bath, by the way. I wasn't completely... Anyway, I was expecting they just refund the items that were missing because everything else was there. It was annoying, but it was just 1 bag's worth of stuff and everything else, so it was fine. I did have enough food to do me for the next 2 weeks. I got an email from Amazon. I thought, okay, I better look at that just to see if there's anything I need to check in there. And I looked over it very confused. Every item I'd ordered was listed in the refund. And I thought, that can't be right. It looks like they've refunded the total amount of the order there. And I thought, should I say something? Because if I say something, someone might get into trouble. But if I don't say something, someone might get into trouble as well. So I thought, okay, I better ask if that's correct. So I went on, did the online chat thing. Jumped through the hoops. You eventually talked to a human being. And I just checked, is that correct? He said yes. I said, and I can keep the items? He said, yes, you can keep the items we sent you. And enjoy them, and you can reorder the stuff that's missing. Great. So basically I got free groceries. So that was an annoying inconvenience, but I had a happy ending. Just thought I'd update you on that. Okay. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.